Now, let me introduce you to our amazing teachers tonight. They are dear friends, and they are the Bergs, Arlene and Jeff Berg from Pittsburgh. Okay?
Yes.
And I'm going to tell you something. Steve and I love doing the Yiddish word of the day. We love getting a chance to share Yiddishkeit culture. But the real experts on this are definitely Jeff and Arlene Berg. Jeff and Arlene have been teaching Yiddish for many years, and it's for us to be able to share them with you for a moment. And so, Jeff and Arlene Bergs from Pittsburgh, take it away.
Okay, schönen Dank. Guten Abend. Wir seien Jeff und Arlene Berg. Wir seien sehr glücklich, als ihr seid mit uns zu lernen wegen Yiddish. Good evening. We're Jeff and Arlene Berg. We're very happy you are here with us tonight to learn about Yiddish, and we'll have a lot of fun. Plus, we're hoping it'll really inspire you. We want to thank Gabe for all his help in getting this set up. And if anyone wants the PowerPoint or the bullet point notes he wrote, he said FOI can send it to you if you want them. But I guess we'll get started with a song that's very, very common or very famous in Yiddishkeit. And I know Steve will know this and some of the others. All right. Bei mir bist du schön.
There you go. Can you hear that?
Of all the boys I've known, and I've known some, until I first met you I was lonesome. And when you came in sight, dear, my heart grew light, and this old world seemed new to me. You're really swell, I have to admit you deserve expressions that really fit you. And so I've racked my brain hoping to explain all the things that you do to me. By mir bist du schön, please let me explain. By mir bist du schön means you're great. By mir bist du schön, again I'll explain. It means you're the fairest in the land. I could say Bella, Bella, even say wunderbar. Each language only helps me tell you how grand you are. I've tried to explain, by mir bist du schön. So kiss me and say you understand. By mir bist du schön, you've heard it all before, but let me try to explain. By mir bist du schön means that you're grand. By mir bist du schön, it's such an old refrain, and yet I should explain. It means I am begging for your hand. I could say Bella, Bella, even say wunderbar.
Yeah, that's good. That's good, Gabe. Thanks. Okay, thanks so much. Well, that's a very, very famous song in Yiddishkeit, and it means, to me, you are lovely, you're charming. I won't go into all the other, that's the main thing. Okay, we're going to start with our notes and on the PowerPoint that Gabe made up. Okay, Jeff, number one, ich bet dich, please get started.
Okay, we're going to look at the definition of Yiddish. And Yiddish is derived from the German word for Jewish. And it is the language that was spoken by the majority of millions, possibly 12 million Jewish people in Eastern Europe before the Holocaust. That was the language of the day. Okay.
Everything, yeah, go ahead.
Yiddish is derived from the German word. Oh, sorry. Yiddish was the common everyday language in the homes, schools, synagogues, stores, all the Jewish religious thought, commentaries, everything in Jewish life was spoken or written in Yiddish. Yiddish was, and this is important, Yiddish was not only the language of the Jewish people in that day, it was their culture.
Yes, always remember that. It's not just a language. And today, if you want to reach Jewish people in North America, South America, or Canada, or wherever, as opposed to Israel, you have to know even a little bit of Yiddish. We're not experts in Yiddish. We're not mavens or experts. In fact, we didn't even have a lot of formal training. We just studied it on our own. And because we know some Yiddish, it's given us big inroads to witness to them. So Yiddish is their heart and soul, even more than Hebrew, even though we love Hebrew and it's our first love. But okay, we'll go to description of Yiddish. Next slide, please. Description. Thank you. Yiddish is approximately 72% German, 18% Hebrew, and 16% Slavic. There are some Yiddish words that they take right from the Hebrew, like shalom, and a bunch of other words. It's written with Hebrew letters, and like Hebrew, it's read from right to left. The main difference is that some of the vowels in Yiddish are different than those in Hebrew. Next slide, please. Okay, Jeff's gonna look down at the lower writing. That's Genesis 1:1 in Hebrew. Look how different it is from the Yiddish. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, it's pronounced Bereshis, Bara, Elohim, Es, Hashemayim, Es, Haaretz.
Okay, so that's Genesis 1:1, but look at the Yiddish, how different it is on top. The vowels are different, they're put in different places, and some of the words are completely different. Genesis 1:1 in Yiddish is, you'll see how it sounds German. En on Heb hat Gott, God, beschaffen, God created dem Himmel, heaven, und der Erd. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. But so it is different. And I should mention that if you want to really be able to read Yiddish as it was written in Hebrew, you have to know Hebrew. But don't worry about it, because you'll see as we go on that a lot of places will transliterate the Yiddish word, and you can learn some Yiddish words that way and have an influence and get into the heart of Jewish people. And that's our prayer for you. Okay, next slide. Okay, origin and evolution of Yiddish. I never knew this until we started studying it, but the most accepted, not the only, theory of the origin of Yiddish is that it began to take shape by the year 1000 AD as Jewish people from France and Italy migrated to the German Rhine Valley. That's why a lot of it's German. They developed a language that included elements of Hebrew, Jewish French, Jewish Italian, and various German dialects. In the late Middle Ages, when Jewish people settled in Eastern Europe, Slavic elements were incorporated. So you have a lot of different languages in it. But this is what's interesting. Yiddish was only a spoken language for its first 200 years. A prayer book, a Machzor, was discovered in Germany with the Yiddish earliest writings around 1272 AD. Before the Holocaust, there may have been 12 million Yiddish speakers in the world, not Hebrew. Here again, it's Yiddish. They were Yiddish speakers. After the Holocaust, sad to say, it was diminished to 6 million. I'm not sure. I guess the 6 million is an accurate estimate of how many speak Yiddish today.
I can mention about
Yeah.
there's two ways of speaking Yiddish, because there's two different dialects that were in like Poland and Germany. One was the Galicianer version, and the other is the Litvak. And we speak more of the Litvak. but it's amazing. Like we've had these Yiddish clubs, and somebody would know the Glitzianer, and when they would hear us speak, I don't know that I don't know what you're saying, and they would get up and
Yeah.
walk out. But there was great rivalry between these two groups, calling each other horse thieves and stuff like that. And they wouldn't intermarry.
No. So it's a little bit of Yiddish culture. They really, like Jeff said, there was a lot of rivalry. But next we're going to go, next slide, please, to resources for learning Yiddish. And the first important one is the Yiddish Book Center in Amherst, Massachusetts. I guess you can go to the next slide, please. Located in Amherst, it was formerly located in New York City, founded in 1980. Was founded by Aaron Lansky. And on his own, he began rescuing Yiddish books that people would throw away. And he thought, we got to save these. It's our culture. It's our culture. Over 1 million volumes of Yiddish books, films, other literature have been saved. Over 1 million. The center recovers, preserves, teaches, celebrates Yiddish literature and culture to advance a fuller understanding of Yiddish history, Jewish history, and identity. They've digitized every piece of Yiddish literature that has ever been written. You can go on to this website, the Yiddish Book Center, and they have classes for how to learn Yiddish. If you don't know the Hebrew, I'm sure it's transliterated, but you can learn. And Jeff and I thought to ourselves, you'll be thinking of this. What did they do, the Yiddish Book Center, when someone would send them a Yiddish New Testament or Yiddish evangelistic tracts? What would they do with them? I think in Judaism, you're not allowed to throw away a book that has a name God written in it. So what would they do with them? We have no idea, but we've thought of that. Okay, I'll do part of the next. Okay, the next one, yeah, YIVO. And Jeff and I both will do this. YIVO is an acronym for, and this is all Yiddish, Yiddischer Wissenschaftlicher Institute, or Yiddish Scientific Institute. And YIVO was founded, this is what's interesting, Jeff will mention something, in Vilnius in 1925 in Lithuania. And what happened? Did a lot of people die there?
Yeah, probably the casualties of the Holocaust were the greatest in Vilna. In fact, in one of our Yiddish clubs at the assisted living in Pittsburgh, we actually had a survivor of Vilna from the Holocaust
Yeah.
that was part of the group. And she really appreciated
Yes.
what we were doing and teaching. And it's also interesting that there was a group of people that uh, that left Vilnius and of all places emigrated to Wickliffe, Ohio, an eastern suburb of Cleveland, and formed you could call it like a Yiddish seminary called Telze Yeshiva, which is you could say a byproduct of people leaving to escape the Holocaust.
Yes.
And it's still active to this day.
Yes, we know people that have gone there. But anyway, that's some of the deep history in Lithuania, and it's the leading institution for Yiddish scholarship concerning the history and culture of East European Jewish people. Vilna was really that's where all the scholars lived and taught. And in partnership with the Center for Jewish History, YIVO has the largest and most comprehensive collection of material for the study of Yiddish in the whole world. So please go to their website, YIVO, YIVO. They have over 400,000 volumes. They have music, literature, theater, art, film, photograph, all kinds of things. And they teach courses in Yiddish, Jewish history and culture, in person and online. It sponsors acclaimed exhibitions, concerts, and lectures. YIVO also has the most comprehensive collection of primary source documents on the Holocaust in North America. So if you want to learn Yiddish, and you don't have to know Hebrew, if you don't know it, it's okay. You can learn, they'll transliterate, but you have to make sure it's transliterated or you won't be able to read Yiddish. But again, we can't emphasize too much. Even if you know a little bit of Yiddish, you will get into the heart, soul, and life of Jewish people. You will really get into their life. That's our main aim, because we want to share the Messiah with them. Okay, then other resources, I'll just go through these quick. Yiddish for beginners. I left that in the other room. Mir hoben a Sach Bücher. We have a lot of books. We'll show you just a few, but these are the ones you want to get or try to get if you can. A lot of their words, Yiddish for beginners, are transliterated, but not in the vocabulary. The Yiddish teacher, I had this years ago when I first learned Yiddish in Workman's Circle in Cleveland. Hold it, please. Then learning Yiddish and hold it up, please. And easy stages. That's a good one. A lot of the words aren't transliterated. Some are. So you just do what you can with them, and we'll give you other references to go to. And the joys of Yiddish, Jeff's going to be reading from that. I'm sure Steve knows about this, and Chris, the joys of Yiddish is a treasure. Almost all these you can get on Amazon. And then, hooray for Yiddish. You're going to learn some really interesting things from that soon. I can hold it. We have so many. You want to hold up the Encyclopedia of Jewish Humor. This is a gold mine. Should really get it. And then just a couple more. Next slide, please. It would be college Yiddish. I didn't bring that one out. That's what I learned at Workman's Circle. And again, we didn't have a lot of formal training. We just did what we could, and God has blessed in our contacts with Jewish people, which we thank Him for. And then you really need to get on. Thanks for highlighting that in yellow, Gabe. Yiddish word of the day. You can go on YouTube. And Ruchel Schachter, who was she's the editor of the Forward in New York City, the only online Yiddish English newspaper in the United States. Every day she gives a Yiddish word for the day. And you should really go on that. She'll give it in Hebrew, but she transliterates it, she teaches it, and teaches a lesson. And it's wonderful. And then, if you just want to learn a word like cat, just go on Google, type in cat, put cat in Yiddish. It'll bring up the Hebrew writing, but it'll show you how to pronounce it. So that's another thing you could do. And then the universities and colleges, many today, are teaching Yiddish. Don't ever let anyone tell you that Yiddish is dying. It's really being revived. Really being revived. And then we'll move to the next slide, please. And I have some things to read before Jeff takes over. This is the influence of Yiddish on the English language. You will not believe the words, the phrases that we have adopted from Yiddish. Next slide, please. This is really good. Yiddish hasn't taken over English, but it has a beachhead, and boy, does it have a beachhead. And I'm going to read these, and then Jeff will read some things from Jewish humor. These are not on the slides. Please get this book, Hooray for Yiddish. Please get it, because it will tell you all these things that I'm going to read. I'll go through some of the Yiddish that has been adopted into English. You won't believe it. I know Steve says this. I say it too. Ay, 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 ay. And that speaks for itself. Oh, my goodness. The word bite your tongue, that comes from Besa die Zunge, bite your tongue. Could be, es kann sein, it could be. Don't ask, frag nicht. Eat your heart out, as dear euch zu hart. Get lost, verlier sich. Go talk to the wall. Red zu der Wand. Wand is wall. And you've heard this, a hole in the head, lock in the cup. And Jewish people also say, oh, I need it like I need a hole in the head. And then it shouldn't happen to a dog. You know, we don't really interpret that right according to what the rabbi said. We think, oh, it shouldn't even happen to an animal. But they really uplifted animals. They took care of them. They fed them before they ate. So what they're saying is it shouldn't happen to a poor animal either. And that's Jewish culture. Treat the animals right. We have a Jewish cat, and her name is Simcha. And she's spoiled. She's a princess. But anyway, treat the animals right. That's what Judaism does. Okay, you want Helm first or the Yiddish cursive? Why don't you do Helm?
Yeah, next slide would be Yiddish humor.
And when you want the song.
And this is in a class all by itself. This is just outstanding. This will make the night. We did show you a book called The Encyclopedia of Jewish Humor by Henry Spalding. And it says, true Jewish humor mirrors the history of the Jewish people. It is a reflection of their joy and anguish, their aspirations and discouragements, their all too brief periods of social and economic well-being. It expresses their endless yearning for a world in which justice, mercy, understanding, and equity will prevail, not only for themselves, but for all people. It portrays their quest for eternal truths.
Amen. Can read that flap. What makes in that book? She's trying to get the Helm.
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I guess we'll go to that. Oh, before we start with Helm, let's do that other video, Gabe. And this is just a little taste of Jewish vaudeville. And this is real popular if you were to visit the Catskills. And it used to be a real big thing back in the day. Jewish people still go, but this will just get a little taste of it's from a Jewish comedian, you could say, Feivush Finkel.
Hello.
My wife and I just parted. I'm back where I started, like a bachelor when I was a kid. But when I started moving, my wife said disapproving, stay right here, it's better, so I did. Why go and look look for shelter, confused and helter-skelter, just to be alone and save a cent. Do a favor, stay right here. It'll work out, have no fear. Like a stranger, I pay her my rent. Oh, I am a boarder by my wife. What an improvement in my life. No more problems, never harried. I am happily unmarried. I am a boarder by my wife. Hey! Now a little Mamelution. Ich bin schon wieder Single, pinkt also wie ein Engel, mit mein Weibel hab ich sich gegett. Gedenkt hab ich zum Muffen, Gesicht zum Schluffen, hat mein Weibel mich übergerät. Us darfst du sich hinglicken, in Fremder sich sticken, in sein alleine Reden in der Welt. Bleib du immer pink wie früher, sei ja oder jetzt bei mir, wie ein Fremder zu ich in dem Renn. Weil ich bin a Borde bei mein Weib. Männer, ist das ein teurer Job. Sie attendet mich mit alles, wenn ich gefragt, sie kann schon alles. Ich bin a Borde bei mein Weib. Oh yeah, hey!
What he just saying, ich bin a border by my vibe. He says, I am renting a room with my wife. She lets me rent a room in the house. And that's actually my lifestyle with Arlene. Just kidding. But this is, they sing and perform a lot about everyday life, what they've been going through over the years, and they just have a humor that carries them through some of the deep valleys that they've been through. And another version of this too that we've seen come, that's really happened today as well, is klezmer music. Klezmer is Yiddish for musical players, instruments, and they will actually be playing clarinets and violins, and whatever, but they're actually singing again about what's going on in life, just like this Five-Ush Winkel was doing there. That's typical klezmer, typical Jewish vaudeville. But I wanted to move on into something that this will really lighten up the evening, and it's about a mystical town called Helm, and it's located in Poland. It's a real city, but it's also a very fictitious place.
And some say it's real, others say it isn't.
If I were to take a trip to Poland on a FOI tour someday, I would love to see Helm.
He'd fit right in too.
And anyway, we also have a book called How the Wise Men Got to Helm. And I'll just read just a little bit on the inside flap, and then I'll read a few little Helm stories. When God created the world, as it is said, he sent out an angel with a bag of foolish souls with instructions to distribute them equally all over the world, one fool per town. But the angel's bag broke, and all the souls spilled out into the same spot. They built a settlement where they landed. The town is known as Helm. And Helm writings, or writings about this humor, go all the way back as far as 1597, but they became more popular probably back in the late 1800s by writers known as Shalom Aleichem and Isaac Bashevis Singer.
Wait till you hear these.
And here's a few good tales. In Kelm, the shamus, or he's like the Jewish servant that would make sure everything is running in the synagogue, used to go around used to go around waking everyone up for minyan, or the morning prayer, in the morning. Every time it snowed, the people would complain that although the snow was beautiful, they could not see it in its pristine state because by the time they got up in the morning, the shamus had already trekked through the snow. The townspeople decided that they had to find a way to be woken up for minyan without having the shamus making tracks in the snow. So the people of Helm hit on a solution. They got 4 volunteers to carry the shamus around on a table when there was fresh snow in the morning. That way the shamus could make his wake-up calls, but he could not leave tracks in the snow. Another one, the town of Kelm decided to build a new synagogue. So some strong, able-bodied men were sent to a mountaintop to gather heavy stones for the foundation. The men put the stones on their shoulders and trudged down the mountain to the town below. When they arrived, the town constable yelled, "Foolish men, you should have rolled the stones down the mountain." The men agreed this was an excellent idea, so they turned around and with the stones still on their shoulders, trudged back up the mountain and rolled the stones back down again. And just to add a little bit to that story about those stones for the foundation, they had them laying on the ground but couldn't figure out. They just kept stacking them, but the wind would knock them over. So someone instructed them, you got to build your foundation in the ground. So they put the stones in the ground and then they watered the stones and they waited for 2 years to to see shoots coming up, but nothing happened. But that's just a little taste of um, Helmite.
Fish.
And here's another one. Which is more important, the sun or the moon? A citizen of Helm asked the rabbi. What a silly question, snapped the cleric. The moon, of course. It shines at night when we really need it. But who needs the sun to shine when it's already broad daylight?
They sure sounded like fools, didn't they? Befuddled. This is the best one.
In a story called The Shameless Fish, Isaac Bashevis Singer tells the story of a rabbi in Kelm, Poland, who has been given a fine carp by Mendel the fisherman as a token of gratitude for lifting a curse from him. When the rabbi bends down to inspect the gift, the carp slaps him in the face. Although the rabbi is unperturbed, the people of the town insist that the impertinent fish be tried, convicted, and punished. After 7 days and nights of deliberation, the wise men of Helm hand down a sentence of death by drowning. When the fish swims away, apparently unscathed, the head of the synagogue proclaims that justice, a ban of excommunication, has been done. Why else would the fish flee to other waters?
But that's some of Yiddish culture, their humor, which is it's really in a class by itself. I don't know of anything that's comparable.
No.
You know, you think of Polish jokes, and I'm Polish, so I know they go around. It just reminds you of that.
I'll just read one more.
Okay, then I'll go to the curses.
Born in Vilna, uh, Isaac Meyer Dick, a committed Moskill, someone that was very revered,
Mm-hmm.
who loathed the Hasidim, was the first author to write about the fools in Kelm. Dick's satirical stories took aim at the, quote, logic of Jewish life, religious practices, and Talmudic reasoning. In one of the stories,
Look
to
up.
be eligible to remarry, a rabbi's wife must identify a headless corpse
Oh.
as her husband, but neither she, the synagogue's Talmud scholars, nor the shamus, the synagogue warden, can be sure because he never removed his prayer shawl from his head.
Mm.
The attendant at the bathhouse is no help because the cloud of steam obscured his view. Another one said, I can't identify his face because his payas covered his ears. And another one said that he couldn't see his nose. After a careful review of the deceased man's writings, however, the rabbinical court decrees that he never did have a head. So
That's Summer Helm. Okay, before we go to opportunities for witness by knowing just a little bit of Yiddish, I guess it'd be, Yiddish curses. Now, these aren't curse words in Yiddish, they're Yiddish curses. And you may wonder, why do they have Yiddish curses? You know, all through their history, the poor people have been persecuted. And most of the time, they didn't fight back physically. Most of the time, except like in the Warsaw Ghetto, and of course, when, thank God, Israel became a nation and other things. But most of the time, they didn't fight back. So they learned to fight with words. And you're not going to believe some of these curses, but this is still part of Yiddish history, and we need to know it. And when you say something, you always say, he should. You make it more emphatic. He should. He should marry the daughter of the angel of death. And you can imagine the things they went through, so they reacted like this. I have a whole bunch. He should go nuts and run around through the streets. God should visit upon him the best of the 10 plagues. And you can imagine, what they've gone through, and so they're reacting with all their persecutors. And then all his teeth should fall out except one to make him suffer. And then this is my favorite, he should be transformed into a chandelier to hang by day and burn by night. He should have Pharaoh's plagues sprinkled with Job's scabies. Your stomach should rumble so badly you'll think it was a Gregor, a Purim noisemaker. And I'll read just a few more. He should grow like an onion with his head in the ground. And again, you can just imagine this is what they think toward, their persecutors. A fever should toss him in bed. It should toss him a foot high every time. And then may you explode from pleasure. I could read a lot more, but I don't want to emphasize all that. But that's part of Yiddish culture. That's the curses. And we read some of these in one of our Yiddish clubs, and they got a kick out of it, but we always asked them ahead of time, do you mind if we read these? We didn't want to, offend them or anything. But that's part of Jewish humor. We wish we had a lot of time to tell you about Jewish humor. Oh, it's in a class by itself.
I could just add just a few quick words, and these are real popular, and I'm sure they've already been on the
Podcast.
the podcast. And there's three, the Schlemiel, the Schlemazel, and the Nebuch. And I like to call this the Yiddish Trinity. The Schlemiel is somebody who's real clumsy. And I always think of those movie skits of Mr. Bean, always knocking something over and doing everything. And unfortunately, what he does when he knocks something over, like a bowl of soup, it'll fall on the Schlemazel because the Schlemazel never seems to have any fortune. I mean, everything happens to him. And he kind of reminds me of the Wiley the Coyote on the Roadrunner Hour. But Schlemazel, actually, when you think of the word Schlee in German, it means bad, and Mazel means fortune. And one of the big sayings when something really great happens, you'll say Mazel Tov
Mm-hmm.
or congratulations. But a Schlimazel is somebody that doesn't have much, has no fortune.
A bird.
And oh yeah, we raised some finches years ago when we were in Cleveland, and we had this real nice finch, and it would always sing in the sun. And I was cleaning the cage, and somehow the bird got out, and it flew into a mirror and died.
Broke his neck.
It broke its neck. But we named the bird Schlemazel.
And so he lived up to it. But
And
all
then
the birds had Yiddish names, all of them. That even helped with the Jewish community.
But anyway, you have the Schlemiel, the Schlemazel, and then you have the Nebuch. And the Nebuch, there's just nothing going for them. And he or she always ends up cleaning up the mess of the Schlemazel. And then you have the Schmendrick, which is like a little hapless jerk, ineffectual, foolish, contemptible. And then on the other side, you have the Mensch, somebody of just outstanding character.
Yes.
And you'll hear that word many times.
Yeah.
Oh, so-and-so is a real Mensch.
Okay, keep going.
I just
Okay.
wanted to throw some of those words out.
Yeah, there's so many. You'll get those in the Joys of Yiddish if you buy the book. Please buy the book. Now we're coming to the most important part. We'll be done pretty soon because we want to take questions, but opportunities for witness. If you know just even a few Yiddish words, and boy, we've had them through the years. And through the years, we've had Yiddish clubs in Jewish facilities, and people come up to us afterwards and say, "Why did you learn Yiddish?" And we tell them, because of our faith and because of the New Testament and the one in the New Testament who changed us and gave us a love for you and your people. We've had opportunities like that. You can too, if you just learn a few words. Then I remember years ago, in the Jewish home where we volunteered, there was a little lady, a Holocaust survivor, Helen, spoke only Yiddish. And I wanted to get through to her somehow. And while Jeff was doing an activity, I walked with her. She would walk and walk. I walked with her around the unit. And while we walked, the Lord enabled me, and I thank him, to be able to quote a few verses from Isaiah 53 to her in Yiddish. And I said to her, "Do you understand what I'm saying?" And she said, "Yes." So we can only pray that God save these people. And so he's given us different opportunities to witness, and this is our challenge to you. We've given you some funny things tonight and given you a history, like what Gabe put, the journey of Yiddish, but use it for his glory to witness, even if you know a couple words. Okay, Jeff. And before we take questions, if there are any.
We just wanted to show this real quickly, and I don't think anybody from FOI has ever seen this, but years ago, Arlene wrote and designed this literature, and it's on the cover, it's in Yiddish, Oatsroot Funum Talmud, treasures from the Talmud. And on the inside, it's all rabbinic writings talking about the coming of the Messiah,
And the suffering Messiah.
the suffering Messiah.
So they can't say that's not from our scriptures.
And again, we would meet somebody religious on the street, and you could say, "Ich habe sehr gut Brief von der Talmud."
We have a good letter for you from the Talmud. Okay.
And then we have another one called Die Wunder von die Torah. This is very old, but again, we wrote this, and it was all transliterated.
I didn't have keys back then that had Yiddish letters, so we had to transliterate. Plus, a lot of Jewish people don't read Yiddish with the Hebrew. It's just a real religious. So if we gave that to someone that wasn't religious, they couldn't read it anyway.
But this could be something handy for one of your events in Philadelphia
Yeah.
and New York.
Yes.
Anyway,
So that's basically it, what we have. But please learn even some Yiddish words if you can, and pray that God will give you opportunity, because if there's any language, culture they love, it's Yiddish. Yiddish.